Welcome everyone to our discussion on wellness in the home. I've been involved with air quality and water quality, and I want to make sure we do touch on water quality also equally as important. But when I first put an air quality monitor in my house, what was really shocking to me is when we cooked. Is what cooking did. And of course we all think of cooking at home as being the healthy way to eat, and it is nutritionally. Right. But maybe maybe you can talk about, maybe Thomas, on ventilation and how to mitigate that in the house.
Yeah, so there's a few sort of responses just to some of these comments. I think it's really important to remember our biological, innate biological responses to these things that we're trying to solve with technology right now, right? But it's light, right? It's UV light at certain times, and it's the cycle of those biological responses. Are we gonna create a digital environment that emulates our circadian rhythm? Maybe. I mean, technically that's what we're doing with the right light and air. And
absolutely.
So we wanna remember all aspects of that, and I think that's important, right? And it our innate human needs are a critical part of this, and all aspects of that. And we're trying to solve that with tech, which is great, but it's not an excuse for going outside. Sometimes you just need to put your workspace outside, so you go outside, in the morning. Maybe that's the solution at times. So that's all. I mean, and measuring indoor air quality. Just simply for myself, I began measuring my own carbon dioxide in my home like you. And it was shocking to me the differences I could make in my sleeping environment or throughout the day. And the impacts, very small changes that I could make that had a dramatic impact on the carbon dioxide in our home. So proper ventilation obviously is critical. And creating a relationship with the outside in a way that is easily accessible, I think is important too.
Yeah, I love that aspect, or that thought process you have on it. What are certain, again, like cooking or off-gassing, are there some things we do in the home that are worse than others, or is it just an accumulation of everything that is really the problem?
It's definitely an accumulation, but some things that people are not aware of. We are polluters. The way what comes out of our body, there's pollutions, there are VOCs coming out of our body too. So when you have extremely tight house, that impacts the indoor air quality. And
VOCs, by the way, is volatile organic
compounds.
Right. Just wanted to clarify.
And then the other thing is, when it comes to air quality, it's things like cleaning. Like people spray Windex, but they think it's only going on the window, but it's actually going throughout the space. So the monitors will show that when someone's cooking and cleaning are the two biggest acute pollution events in the home.
How about air fresheners?
Air fresheners are giving out VOCs at extremely high amounts. Candles, incense. Those are things people don't think of because it may be cultural, they grew up with that, so they think it's okay. But when you actually have a monitor, you can only manage what you measure. So it'll actually show those things. We've been in so many houses where kids have asthmatic conditions, and we go in and we test the home when the incense is on, and we show the mother. Right. Love of child trumps culture. Right. So once we explain it to them, they just got rid of it, and they're like, what else can we do? And recommend essential oils, things like that.
Great.
I mean, I think that's one of the things about the debate about gas stoves versus induction, right? And I think obviously people are very passionate about this. I think I was in a conversation where an interior designer who's quite famous talked about using an induction stove, and then suddenly got a lot of negative comments because people are just taking sides on this. But if you take a step away and you look at it from a rational standpoint, and you think about the kind of advice we get, right? Don't use a barbecue indoors. Right, and even if it's a propane, kind of natural gas fed barbecue, don't use it indoors. Everybody knows that. But what about the propane that's on the gas stove, right? I mean, there has to be, I think, that awareness. And I think those monitors take us away from, taking a side on the issue. And of course, there might be somebody that will choose to do that because they prefer to cook that way. But if they understand the impact that it has, they can see the sort of the acute change, right? Then you're making that educated kind of decision. And maybe it's just heavy ventilation, maybe it's opening the windows and clearing that out and not having your family huddle around it while you're cooking, those types of things. But I think you're right. A lot of these long-term kind of chronic health things have a link to all these activities.
The studies show that in a cooking event, that home or that area becomes more polluted than the worst polluted city in the world. So that's how drastic it goes. And depending on your ventilation, that can actually last hours. Whereas if you have a good ventilation system, it'll reduce it to tens of minutes, right? Yeah.
Great discussion.